Space can be intimidating. Quantum mechanics, incomprehensible distances, isolation, and the unknown. Well, the Outer Wilds will scare, no, terrify you with isolation, scale, and frankly scary fish. Developer Mobius Digital has crafted a friendly, small scale solar system ripe with mysteries to uncover. Does this ambitious indie project work? Let's find out. Just a quick note, I was a little disappointed with the amount of YouTube content for this game when I first started looking into it after I beat it. I think the original launch exclusivity may have turned a lot of people off from this game. That and it just so happens to be very similarly named to a bigger game that came out right around the same time. So just a PSA, this is now on Steam, PlayStation 4, Epic Game Store, Xbox, as well as Game Pass. It is no longer just a Game Pass and Epic Game Store exclusive. And consider subscribing if you found this video helpful or enjoyable. We have other reviews, including The Last of Us 2, and more content, maybe even more Outer Wilds content if people want, coming. So like the video, subscribe, and let me know down below how you feel about this. This game's hard to pitch. Literally every discovery is a spoiler. It's hard to show the cool stuff because of that, and it's hard to discuss the story because of that. Just bear in mind that what you're seeing is going to be fairly generic Outer Wilds gameplay, and to the people who are watching this who have already beaten the game, I will be sure if I show a location that you quote-unquote discover, that I do not show you how to get there. There will be no context for what you're doing in there. So, let's start with that story. You're an explorer in a tiny, tiny solar system. Your planet has a space program, and they are hungry for discovery, as should you be if you're trying to play the Outer Wilds. After a brief tutorial of between, you can make it as long or short as you want, kind of like, I'm going to be making comparisons to Breath of the Wild, probably 20 minutes to an hour long, you set off to explore absolutely anywhere. This is truly Breath of the Wild level of openness, where after your tutorial, you're given all the tools that you need to theoretically complete the game, and you can do anything and go anywhere from that point forward. Your ability to complete the game relies on your full or at least partial understanding of the story, as well as the world's mechanics, which requires exploration and experimentation to master. And this can only be done in a game. I talk a lot, games get a lot of points in my book when you do something that can only be done in a video game. A lot of video games these days just are a movie. It's just a compilation of cutscenes with a compilation of gameplay in between those cutscenes, and they're kind of disconnected, and that's a bummer. This story in the Outer Wilds can only be done in a video game. Outer Wilds' style of storytelling can really be compared to, I guess, Breath of the Wild, where it's a non-linear story. You can discover any bit, being those flashbacks, in any order, but the Outer Wilds makes Breath of the Wild storytelling honestly look like a kindergarten project. This is the equivalent of being handed a book, and you're only able to read the story by turning to random pages, and then being asked what the cohesive story is. That would suck as a book. It just wouldn't work. But as a game, it really works wonderfully, partially because you're grounding yourself in physical locations as you get those random pages, and only in a video game can you tell a story where the player gets different pieces at different points in the experience, but they all come together. When I play the Outer Wilds, I'll get different pieces of the story from when you play the Outer Wilds just by virtue of the fact that we're going to other places, but that will all come together as a cohesive whole at the end. And the active puzzle solving that you do helps strengthen that story and helps strengthen you and ground you in the world as a player, which you can't do with a book. I guess they could have a book where you do little word puzzles or something along the way. Might work. I don't know. Let's talk about gameplay. I'm not a book expert. So, explore. That's the gameplay. You look for key points of interest, you explore them, you get that knowledge, you use the knowledge later to enhance the exploration loop. That's the loop. Solid rumor system will help you navigate what you know on your ship. It stores what you've read, basically, and it's mapped out in a little conspiracy map, and it really helps you know maybe where to go next based on what you've already found. It's very helpful to not get lost. You explore with your ship, your suit, your sound locator, and your photo scout. You get every tool that you'll need at the beginning of the game, like I said in the tutorial, but you'll learn new uses for the tools as you play and explore. The gameplay is satisfying, funny, and occasionally frightening. Not in a horror way, just in like a, holy shit, this game is big and I'm small kind of way. There are a few negatives, I guess. The game is the slowest and the most obtuse at the beginning, and it kind of has to be this way for the story, right? You don't know anything at the beginning, so it's kind of hard to know what to do. And you have to get the tutorial, which happens to be the least interesting bit of the world. So that could put people off. If you like getting into a game and being into it in 15 minutes, like, let me just say this isn't The Last of Us opening. And you may not be sure if you're solving a puzzle right because of the seemingly small chance of success. There's only 2 puzzles that I can think of where this happened, but basically you think you know the answer to the puzzle, but you look at it and you're like, is this really how it's supposed to go? And you might die a couple times trying to actually solve it. And I actually had to look up the solution to one of the puzzles to make sure I was doing it right. Turns out I was doing it right, but I mean, I guess some of the puzzles could have maybe been designed a little better, maybe. But all in all, I don't know. I'm not that smart, so maybe they're fine. Outer Wilds is one of the most important 3D video games ever made. It reminds us how to use the medium of video games to deliver satisfying discovery and narrative, and outclasses its AAA competitors, which can hardly call themselves competition. This is a unique experience that could only be created in a video game, and it's done pretty damn well. Is this game for everyone? No. If you hate walking sims, probably not for you. If you hate puzzles, probably not for you. And if you absolutely, positively need a guiding hand escorting you along the way, probably not for you. But for everyone else, The Outer Wilds is essential to the experience. And I'm looking at you, Game Pass people. You have this game in your library right now. Download it. Give it a shot. That's all for me, guys. I will catch you next time.